Welcome to this video. We examine how a scenario involving infiltration and strategic pressure could potentially unfold, drawing on the principles often associated with Sun Tzu. Traditional models assume that geopolitical absorption requires amphibious footprints, missile barrages, and hard military destruction. However, Sun Tzu's classical maxim, that to win without fighting constitutes the highest excellence, is not a piece of abstract mysticism. It is an active blueprint for systemic displacement. By focusing exclusively on the hardware of invasion, Western observers suffer from a cognitive blind spot, failing to realize that an entire state apparatus can be decoupled and moved without a single kinetic trigger being pulled. The proof of concept for this asymmetric paradigm has already been executed within the Middle Eastern theater. By supplying the BeiDou satellite network to enhance regional missile precision, Beijing fundamentally altered the calculus of Western deterrence without committing infantry. The resulting structural trap effectively boxed the United States out of its traditional role as regional arbiter, forcing an acceptance of a new equilibrium. This strategy provides the precise operational playbook for East Asia, reshaping the balance of international power not via amphibious deployment, but through the exploitation of strategic paralysis and domestic political fragmentation. Western defense frameworks rely almost entirely on the mechanics of military deterrence, pouring capital into expanded conscription and high-profile coalition exercises like Balikatan 2026. These operations, tracking naval assets through the Miyako Strait and staging live-fire drills near Scarborough Shoal, are operationally formidable but structurally irrelevant. They are designed to counter an adversary that intends to fight a conventional war. Because Beijing is operating on a completely different dimensional plane, the West is meticulously preparing for a conflict that will never be staged. Rather than a top-down military strike, the model projects an organic subversion that functions precisely like a distributed, subterranean mycelial network. This network expands simultaneously across 5 distinct systemic pathways: united front media penetration, the engineering of deep economic dependence, the induction of capital flight, international political isolation, and psychological erosion. Because these operations occur beneath the threshold of conventional military detection, they systematically hollow out the target's institutional sovereignty from the inside out. This creates a profound operational asymmetry. The Western paradigm is rigid, defensive, and entirely reliant on military deterrence, a toolset that becomes completely useless if the adversary refuses to initiate a conventional casus belli. Conversely, Beijing's organic subversion relies on internal collapse. It treats the target not as a fortress to be breached, but as an ecosystem to be gradually modified until capitulation becomes the only rational path to economic and civil stability. The operational execution begins with the systematic creation of parallel legitimacy. By reviving the historical title of Taiwan province governor, Beijing immediately challenges the legal monopoly of the host government. Concurrently, a highly structured shadow authority is established. This parallel administration does not seek an immediate violent coup. Instead, it positions itself as an alternative bureaucratic framework, ready to absorb governance the moment the central state experiences systemic failure. Once the parallel framework is active, the system transitions to active destabilization. Coordinated labor strikes, engineered civil protests, and deep cyber campaigns are deployed to overwhelm domestic law enforcement and paralyze municipal infrastructure. As panic buying escalates and capital flight drains the financial core, the shadow government issues a formal ultimatum. Surrender is strategically framed not as a humiliating political defeat, but as the only available mechanism to restore civic order and halt economic self-destruction. Hostile absorption cannot succeed through pure coercion. It requires what systems theory calls the effective scaffolding of compliance. Beijing facilitates this by offering highly calibrated candies designed to disarm resistance. Global tech markets are mollified with ironclad chip supply assurances, preventing international corporate lobbying for military intervention. Simultaneously, the domestic population is offered explicit lifestyle and economic continuity guarantees. By masking the annexation as a preservation of normal everyday life, surrender is successfully rebranded as stability. The resulting international response is structurally engineered to be entirely performative. Because no conventional military forces crossed a physical border, the West is denied a clear casus belli, inducing immediate strategic paralysis. Naval deployments are dispatched to signal resolve, but they achieve nothing structurally. Sanctions are instantly watered down due to the global tech sector's dependence on supply chains, leaving the international community loud, angry, and completely unable to alter the ground reality. The chronological degradation of the state occurs with compounding velocity. Weeks 1 and 2 witness the immediate erosion of institutional legitimacy via the shadow government. By weeks 3 and 4, orchestrated domestic resistance triggers widespread economic panic and capital flight. By the final 2 weeks, the domestic currency undergoes a catastrophic collapse. Public security vectors are entirely overwhelmed, and the existing political leadership capitulates. The entire transition is finalized in 42 days, without a single missile launched. Ultimately, this wargame simulation reveals a flawless convergence of ancient strategic wisdom and modern systems control. While Western powers spend billions preparing for a 20th century amphibious invasion, Beijing operates in a higher dimension. By pairing underground subversion with the calculated assurance of economic continuity, the adversary is collapsed from within. Beijing emerges paradoxically not as an aggressor, but as the stabilizing force of a crisis it silently engineered, achieving the ultimate masterpiece of non-kinetic victory.